phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The All-Star break comes at a good time for the Dodgers. They need to regroup. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They lost at Detroit Sunday in the bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers still have a 7-game lead in the NL West over San Diego and Arizona. The Angels are taking a 3-game winning streak into the break. They took 2 or 3 from Seattle, the first-place team in the AL West. Bronny James said he's open to playing for the Lakers G League team during the regular season if it gives him more playing time and the chance to improve. In 3 Summer League games with the Lakers rookie team, LeBron's son is shooting only 23% from the floor and is 0 for 12 on 3-pointers. The G League assignment is a real possibility for Bronny if new coach J.J. Redick feels he's not ready for significant playing time in the regular season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising@KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, award-winning psychologist, professor, and author Dr. Kevin Coakley sheds light on the culture-eroding effects of the imposter syndrome, why it's important to redefine it racially, and its impact on how we see ourselves in the workplace and beyond. On the B side of hour 2, activist and owner of the Black talk radio station WBOK, 1230 AM in New Orleans, Wendell Pierce sounds off on the revisionist history he expects we will get this week at the podium at the RNC in Milwaukee, that there is no place in America for political violence. I mean, think about that. Everybody from Joe Biden on down has said that since the Trump shooting attempt. The Trump shooting wasn't an attempt, it was a shooting. over the weekend. There's no place in America for political violence. Do you know your history? I mean, really? Do you know your history? We'll talk about, again, what I expect and what Wendell expects to be a lot of revisionist history this week from the podium at the RNC on the B side of Hour 2. I see exactly where Wendell is going, and I can't wait to get there on the backside again of our second hour. In our third hour, 2 conversations. Up first, historian, curator, and author Allison Rose Jefferson takes us inside her latest exhibit, Black California Dreaming, Claiming Space at America's Leisure Frontier, now showing here in L.A. at the California African American Museum. And on the B side of Hour 3, the unapologetically progressive former Ohio State Senator and senior fellow at the New School Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy, Nina Turner, offers her take on the Biden replacement dilemma, the black vote, the choice for progressives this coming election, and, of course, the Trump shooting. But we commence today's show talking politics with our friend and brother, the national affairs correspondent for The Nation magazine, John Nichols, who is in Milwaukee as we speak for the Republican National Committee. We were scheduled to have Ralph Nader on today. We are shifting gears because of all the breaking news and because of the fact that John Nichols for The Nation is in Milwaukee right now all week long covering the Republican National Committee. John Nichols, good to have you back on this program, my friend. How are you, sir?
My brother, it's very good to be with you on these amazing times.
Yeah, amazing is one word for it.
Well, horrifying.
Yeah, I was going to go with grim. How do you like grim?
They are grim. The only thing I'll tell you is, as a historian and as somebody who's written about a lot of politics, I'll tell you we've been here before.
Yeah.
And we are. I mean, I'm not trying to put rose-colored glasses on. I want to go deep into where you want to go, but
sure.
I will tell you, we're a resilient country. We've been through a lot of hell, and we usually find our way out. But this week we're going to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah. I've made the distinction many times on this program. The audience has heard it more than once. The difference between optimism and hope. And for those who've heard me talk about this many times, you understand why I always keep myself in that frame. Optimism and hope are not the same thing. I hear the point John is making. We've been here before. And optimism suggests there's a particular set of facts, circumstances, conditions, something you can see, feel, or touch that gives you reason to believe that things are going to get better. This is not a moment of optimism for our democracy, but we can always remain hopeful. Jesse Jackson, where here, would say, keep hope alive. You understand what Jesse meant when he was uttering that back in the 80s. It is a dark moment. It's a grim moment. And yet, to John's point, I take it. We've been here before. We've seen worse. And we will figure out a way to navigate through this particular grim, horrific, amazing moment in American history. There's so much breaking news today. I don't even know where to begin. I think I will start with this. The judge in the Donald Trump classified documents case has kicked the case to the curb. She has thrown the case out. Her argument is that the appointment of a special counsel, Jack Smith, violates the Constitution. It is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Since Watergate, we've had special prosecutors. I'll let John, the historian, he'll break this down. Let me just tell you the frame that we're in, and I'm going to unleash John for the rest of the hour on this and other issues. We got to, of course, talk about the assassination attempt. There are other Joe Biden's comments yesterday from the White House. There's a lot to get to in this first hour, and we're going to get to it. But this judge, Eileen Connor, has thrown Eileen Cannon. That's what we're talking about. Eileen Cannon, the judge in the Florida case, a Trump appointee, as you know. Trump appointed her. She's been slow walking this thing all along, and then today, on the day that the Republican National Convention starts in Milwaukee, where John Nichols is standing right now, the judge throws this case out on the flimsiest of arguments that the special prosecutor in the case, Jack Smith, that his appointment was unconstitutional. What was Watergate? Forget Watergate. Let me bring it to your front doorstep. If this ruling is correct, then the Hunter Biden conviction needs to be thrown out. If you're going to throw this out, because there's a special prosecutor in the Hunter Biden case. So the Hunter Biden case goes away. The Trump case goes away. She's arguing something that has no basis whatsoever in the law. But she has unilaterally thrown this case out. It will certainly be appealed. But you know where that's going, right? Who does it get appealed to? the 6-3 conservative U.S. Supreme Court. That's who it gets appealed to. I'll stop for the moment. It's going to be a fascinating hour. Our guest is the National Affairs correspondent for The Nation magazine. He is in Milwaukee, side of the RNC. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
At Lowe's, save big every day when you buy in bulk. Save 10% when you buy 68 or more OSB sheathing. Plus, get an extra 5% off every day on eligible purchases when you use your Lowe's business credit card. Visit us in-store or online for low prices on the materials you need. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. 5% offer subject to credit approval. Exclusions and terms apply. See store lowes.com/credit for details.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Well, Tavis Smiley and John Nichols coming your way right about now. Let me just read to you a couple of paragraphs from the New York Times story about this, and I'll yield to the gentleman from The Nation magazine. Again, our guest John Nichols standing by right now in Milwaukee, side of the Republican National Convention, which begins today. A federal judge, reading from the New York Times, dismissed in its entirety the classified documents case against former President Donald J. Trump, ruling that the appointment of the special counsel, Jack Smith, had violated the Constitution. In a stunning ruling, the judge, Eileen M. Cannon, found that because Mr. Smith had not been named to the post of special counsel by the president or confirmed by the Senate, his appointment was in violation of the Appointments Clause of the Constitution. That's her rationale. John Nichols, how do you read this breaking story today?
Why not, right?
Yeah, why
They've
not?
done everything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've gotten to the point now where, the whole handling of this Jack Smith case has been surreal. And, look, this judge has been the wrong judge in the wrong place. She should have recused herself immediately and said, I can't do this. This guy appointed me. Politically, I have had ties to this guy. It just doesn't work. Can't be done. Let another judge do it. That didn't happen. She held on to the case. Even that, I understand. I grew up in a courthouse. My dad was a court commissioner, assistant DA. And so I know my way around these things. I understand the dynamic. You can handle cases with people that you've had involvement. Obviously, it's better to recuse, but if she's going to hang on to it, then she has a responsibility to do it doubly well, right? She's got to do it better, fairer, more bend over backwards to make sure that there's no question. She never did that, and now she's come down with a ruling that literally puts the law on its head. Now, when did she do it? First day of the Republican National Convention. Come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's actually an in-your-face move. I can't say the word on radio, but it's what she is saying to the whole process, right, to all of it. This is the key thing, though, and I think the key thing to understand or remember about this. What's really happened here is that a good case, an important case, a valuable case, went to the wrong judge. That judge sat on that case until a point where she could kill it. She kills it at a point where it cannot be re-upped in time for the American people to know what Donald Trump did as regards these issues, right? And, if indeed you were to go by her standard, which, by the way, I don't accept, but if you're to go by her standard, then obviously the hope here, and you can see it, it's very transparent, is that by the time we get around to dealing with this again, Donald Trump will be president. Maybe he'll have a Republican Senate, and so you'll never have a president or Senate approve a special prosecutor looking at Donald Trump. So she's set up a bunch of false barriers or false, walls that you got to jump over. And in the end of the day, what we end up is with a situation where she shut down a case against the president who appointed her to office, and we're not going to know what happened. We're not going to get to the bottom of this thing, even though Jack Smith, a career prosecutor, by the way, somebody who's done international war crimes, all sorts of incredible cases, right? Jack Smith was ready to go fast and smart on this. He could have gotten this done, but she's prevented that from happening. I think I don't know how to speak my disquiet at this loudly enough to say that I think in the past a judge might have been impeached for something like this.
Yeah. Let me just say this. I'm still noodling this. This news just came out before I came on the air today, so I'm processing it as quickly and as swiftly as anybody else is. But let me just give you my gut. I need more time to study it, as do you. But let me just give you my gut. And y'all forgive me for this, but Democrats are punks. Democrats are weasels. Democrats are spineless. Democrats are spaghetti backs. I could go on. And I say that knowing that I'm running the risk of offending a majority of my audience, but I just want to keep it real. And I don't mean to impugn all of you who are registered as Democrats. I'm talking about the party apparatus. I'm talking about the party structure. This is a brazen and bold anti-democratic move, if ever there was one. Let me contrast the way Republicans are just rolling with the way the Democrats have tended to behave. Before I do that, let me just add one or two more things to the frame that John has put us in.
Hey, brother,
sure.
Can I throw one thing in before you do those
things?
I think this may help a little bit.
Please.
One last bit.
Yeah.
I don't claim to be an expert on the law. Again, I grew up around it, did a little bit of law school along the way, blah, blah, blah. But here's one thing I will tell you. If you're dealing in the issue of standing, i.e., is this a legitimate case, you deal with that at the start, not months into it.
Mm-hmm.
So even if her ruling was right, which I'm not saying it is, but even if it was right, this is something that should have been done months ago. Like at the very beginning of this thing, she should have said, no, he wasn't appointed right. We can't go forward with this. Instead, she waits all this time.
Yeah.
You understand? If she had said that months ago at the very beginning, then it would have been adjudicated quickly. I think she would have been found to be wrong. But even if she was found to be right, then you could have had an appointment. You could have dealt with this. You could have done all these things. But she waited to this incredibly late stage. And so that's doubly flawed. She not only did the wrong thing, but she did it in a destructive way.
I'm glad you added that because all you're doing is making my point a little bit more. That
okay.
To quote George W. Bush, they understand strategery. They understand strategery, and too often Democrats do not. Let me add to your frame. You aided and abetted me. Let me help make your point a little bit stronger. You remember Mitch McConnell, who denied Merrick Garland a hearing? The reason Merrick Garland is the Attorney General and not a Supreme Court justice is that they just told Barack Obama, kick rocks. We are not giving your nominee a hearing, and they did not. And then Trump gets elected, and they add a couple more conservatives to the U.S. Supreme Court. They wouldn't give Merrick Garland a hearing, number one. Number two, we discussed this on our program just last week. They have stacked Republican officials all over this country. We had a guest last week going into detail about this, you may recall, of the way in which Republicans have out-strategized Democrats and put all the right Republicans in all the right places so that if this race is close, nobody believes it is today. We'll talk about that in a moment. Everybody now believes it's a done deal for Donald Trump. That's the narrative. Donald Trump's going to run away with this now, given the assassination attempt. Now today the case has been, the classified documents case thrown out. Everybody I'm talking to, and I'm talking about Democrats, are telling me that it's over, that Donald Trump's going to run the table on this. Okay, we'll come back to that later in this hour as well. But the point is that they've stacked in states all across the country. All these local offices, these county registrars, these attorney generals, they've got all the right people in place so that when Trump makes the phone call, if it's close, like he did to Georgia last time when it was close, and said, find me the votes, they're going to find them. This time, they're going to push him across the finish line if it in fact is close. Democrats, meanwhile, Merrick Garland, the same guy who was denied a potential seat on the U.S. Supreme Court, is nothing more than an institutionalist. He dragged his feet. I take your point, John. She could have done this at the beginning of this case. But guess what? I want to go back farther than that. Merrick Garland could have moved swifter, more swiftly.
Oh, yeah.
He could have moved a lot faster so that whatever she did at the beginning or not would have been done earlier on the calendar because he wouldn't have dragged his feet for as long as he did. If it hadn't been for the brother from Mississippi, Benny Thompson, running those January 6th committee hearings and giving that information to Merrick Garland, we still might not have a case. So Merrick Garland, the Democratic institutionalist, dragged his feet on this, which made it even more plausible and more possible for her to do what she's doing today. Democrats, all this bedwetting about Joe Biden, you can have your own take on it. Republicans are standing by this guy. His judges are getting his back, etc., 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 and Democrats are just wetting the bed and imploding about Joe Biden. I don't know, I got my own thesis, John, about whether or not I think all of this aids and abets Joe Biden in the sense that in this moment, I don't know how Democrats continue to pile on him. The country can only take so much. My view is this. The country can only take so much drama at one time. Americans, we're not Israelis. Israelis deal with drama every day. You take my point, John Nichols. They live with this stuff every single day. I've been to Israel any number of times. I can tell you what I know, not what I heard. They will drop bombs in the morning and be at the beach in the afternoon in Tel Aviv. They live with this horror every single day. We're not wired that way. We can only take so much drama. So my sense is that on the one hand, while Democrats could be more scared of Trump running the table, and so they put more pressure on Joe Biden, my view is that this all may be good for Joe Biden, at least remaining the nominee, say nothing of whether or not he wins in November. Let me pause for a second. John Nichols, your turn.
All right. You have put so much on the table. Let's move through it quick because I know we'll have a break coming pretty soon. Let me give you a couple quick things.
Give it to me.
Number one, right to blame the Democrats. They don't know how to do this. Frankly, the Republicans weren't very good at it before, but whether you like him or not, Trump does know how to do this stuff. He is too good at it in some ways. But bottom line is that he knows how to fight and how to fight hard and to fight to win. Democrats, they keep getting rolled on issue after issue. But it isn't just the Democrats. It's also the media. Right?
Yep, I'm coming there.
We have a media, by and large, in this country.
Yep.
We have a media in this country that is afraid to call Donald Trump to account. And so you use the Merrick Garland Supreme Court issue, right?
Yep.
The point that he did that, the day he did that, McConnell should have been called out, read the riot act, and never let go on it.
That's right.
Because Dwight Eisenhower made recess appointments to the U.S. Supreme Court in election years. He didn't even go to the Senate. He just made the recess appointments, and the Senate would take it up later. The fact of the matter is, there's so much precedent for putting Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court that the media just it didn't give people the basic information where the people would have said, "Hey, this can't happen." And so we've got a Democratic Party problem, we've got a media problem, and let me give you the one last thing I'll tell you. I cover politics for a living. I will tell you what is going to happen. Donald Trump is going to get a bump in the polls. He's going to give a better speech at this convention than you expected, right? I think he feels it. He can sense where he's headed. That's going to give him a bump in the polls. People are going to freak out. And then you know what's going to happen? This race is going to settle back into where it was. And my sense is that one of the biggest story of the weekend was obviously the assassination attempt. That's horrible and big and important. Sub-story, lost to the weekend. Joe Biden went to Detroit and actually gave the best speech he's given in probably a couple of years.
Indeed, I agree.
There's evidence that Joe Biden, shocked by what he's been through, right? And his people around him shocked into actually, recognizing they are in very great danger of losing this race, I think may, and I don't say this for sure, may have righted the ship. And so if that's the case, we're going to have a lot of focus on Trump over the next week. We're going to have a lot of all the drama, all the things going on. Then we're going to settle back into summer a little bit. If Biden keeps on where he's at, I will suggest to you that by the time we get to Labor Day, we got a real race for president, and you might be right that Joe Biden might actually come out ahead, not behind. Partially, the last thing I'll say on this, partially because of what he did last night. Last night's speech by Joe Biden was kind of boring. And you know what? That's kind of what America may want. You know what I'm saying? Not too boring, but you know what I'm saying about that you want somebody who is paternal, right? Somebody who, when things get crazy, you want somebody stable.
Yeah.
And I think that Biden's kind of, right now, maneuvering this a little better than a lot of the media recognizes.
I think you and I are simpatico on this. What you've just said echoes what I was trying to suggest a moment ago. That Americans can only handle so much drama at one time. We're just not wired for all this, number one. I will say this at the moment: Trump is running Boston on the Democrats, though. He's running Boston on them right now, man. And to your point, he knows how to do this, and Democrats better figure this out. They better learn how to play this game. Republicans play hardball. They playing checkers. We're playing chess. Democrats playing checkers. They playing chess. And there's
when you're late in the game, when you're late in the game, or late in a season, and you go, oh man, this isn't going right. We need a new coach.
Yeah.
That's a scary thing to do. The Democrats need a new coach.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. I often disagree with him. But Jim Carville, watching him talk about this, Bernie Sanders, watching him talk about this, I can point to 3 or 4 people who, and a couple others too. I mean, I'll tell you, there's Donna Brazile, who actually I think you could bring in and kind of supercharge this thing. They people who've been running Biden up to this point don't quite know how to do it.
They got to shake it up. They got to shake it up one way or the other. I will say this. I think your comment echoes again what I suggested earlier when I said I think at the moment this plays well for Joe Biden remaining the nominee because, as you put it, and there's historical evidence of this, when there's too much crisis, when there's too much drama, particularly, and this is proven out historically, when we are at war, and we're kind of at war. It's an internal war. It's a civil war. It's not a war on other shores, unless you call Ukraine a proxy war, et cetera, et cetera. I digress on that for a moment. But we're not directly involved in war right now. But historically, we have never switched presidents. We don't change presidents in the middle of a war because we want that sort of stability. And this political violence and everything we're talking about right now, judges throwing out cases, people are trying to assassinate candidates, there's Democrats trying to push Biden off the ticket. It's too much drama. And in moments like these, I think John Nichols is right, that people want things just to calm down just a little bit more. And I don't see in this moment how the Democrats continue to try to push him off the ticket with everything else swirling around. I could be wrong. Let's talk more about it when we come forward. John Nichols standing by at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The shooter behind the assassination attempt of former President Trump reportedly bought 50 rounds of ammunition hours before it went down. Thomas Matthew Crooks bought the bullets at a local gun store in Pennsylvania before carrying out the attack that killed one rally-goer, left two in critical condition, and saw a bullet graze Trump's ear. In Maryland, Montgomery County's first black fire chief is officially stepping into his new job today. Corey Smedley is taking the reins from interim fire chiefs Gary Cooper and John Kingsley after being confirmed by the county council last week. Smedley is just coming off a stint as the chief for Alexandria Fire and EMS and also worked as a deputy chief in Prince George's County. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The All-Star break comes at a good time for the Dodgers. They need to regroup. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They lost at Detroit Sunday in the bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers still have a 7-game lead in the NL West over San Diego and Arizona. The Angels are taking a 3-game winning streak into the break. They took 2 or 3 from Seattle, the first-place team in the AL West. Bronny James said he's open to playing for the Lakers G League team during the regular season if it gives him more playing time and the chance to improve. In 3 Summer League games with the Lakers rookie team, LeBron's son is shooting only 23% from the floor and is 0 for 12 on 3-pointers. The G League assignment is a real possibility for Bronny if new coach J.J. Redick feels he's not ready for significant playing time in the regular season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
KBLA Talk 1580 is now celebrating 3 years of amplifying our voice and uplifting our community. We deeply appreciate your support of this radio station and will always do our level best to earn your support. Here's to many more years of loving and serving our community. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I know it's gonna happen with you.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We We've got your black.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
A violent crime is committed every 24 seconds. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association exists to provide you with firearms education, training, and access to self-defense liability insurance. So when trouble comes, you'll be ready. Over 800,000 Americans trust the USCCA, and right now, there's an exclusive, limited-time offer for radio listeners. Go to defendfamily.com to get a free family defense guide, a survival secrets training video from a retired FBI agent, and see all the benefits of membership. Go to defendfamily.com now.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the national affairs correspondent for The Nation magazine. John Nichols, who is joining us today from Milwaukee, side of the Republican National. Both John and I could be wrong in this conversation. I recognize there's the truth and there's the way to the truth. I'm just trying to get to it. And I believe in saying what I see. I recognize that I don't have a monopoly on the facts or the truth, and so I could be wrong, but I'm offering you my sentiment as to what I think all of this drama, from the assassination attempt to the judge, in case you just tuned in, kicking out the classified documents case against Donald Trump today on the first day of the Republican National Convention. I mean, I've never in my life seen anything so brazen and so bold, and they keep doing it week after week after week. Let me just ask you point blank, John. You opined on this, but I want to just ask you directly whether or not you think in this moment Joe Biden is aided and abetted by everything happening around him in terms of remaining on the ticket as the nominee.
He's 100% aided. And look, here's the reality. This country can handle, this country's a bold country, can handle a lot of stuff if it has to. But when it comes to politics, it can usually handle about one story at a time. The story of the last 2 weeks was Joe Biden's in trouble, right? Mm-hmm. And all the sturm and drang on that. And frankly, I think there's an exciting part of it. I wrote about it. And I think it raised up people's assessments of Kamala Harris. I think there's a lot of people that started to say, hey, you know what? Maybe she could be president. Mm-hmm. That opened them up in ways. And so I think some good came in a couple of interesting ways. But it's done. Finished.
Yeah.
And I know maybe I'm the first one pronouncing that. But I'm saying, in my view, it's done. And it's done for a variety of reasons. First, I think Biden had a decent press conference, not perfect. And then he had an extremely good speech in Detroit that showed the model going forward. Economic populist, kind of a visionary speech, crowd going wild, really liking him. So they've kind of, I think they've stabilized things. And then, factor they couldn't control, unexpected, was this horrible incident with the attempt on Donald Trump's life. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, drew the entire media away over toward that issue. And now, by the way, appropriately, and now we launch the Republican National Convention, which is going to dominate the news over the next 4 to 5 days. By the time we come out of the Republican National Convention, I think it's just going to be clear to everybody that Joe Biden is the, presumptive and all but certain Democratic nominee. Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee, and we will be, we'll be locking in on the roller coaster, my friend.
Yeah. Let me circle back to Florida. There's so many issues that we could talk about in this hour. I won't get to all of them. But I'm getting messages from people all across the country, of course, listening to this conversation right about now. And I see this continuing to come up, so I want to get to it anyway. And it's not so much a softball as it is a very real issue, certainly for African Americans in this country, about what this judge, Cannon in Florida, throwing this case out, once again says about white male privilege. You are a white male, so maybe you're the wrong person to ask, but I also know you as a truth teller. I also know you to be a truth teller. What does this say once again about white male privilege in America?
Well, it says a lot. And then if you want to add one more element, white male wealthy privilege.
Yep.
Then I think you pretty much closed the circle, right?
Yeah.
Let's be let's be very blunt here. There are a lot of people of all races, working class, poor folks, who've gotten a lousy break from the system. But we know it's quantified by the Brennan Center for Justice, by every other group that looks at this stuff, that people of color, particularly black folks, have gotten a bad deal from our justice system for a very, very long time. At the same time, when you do those measures, right, when you look at the system and you say, okay, all right, that's the baseline of a bad deal, what has happened to these people, what do we measure that against? Well, we measure it against the white male, right, the white guy. What we find is that somehow the cases get dropped, the exceptions get found, the country club prisons are opened up. And this is not a mystery. It's not a complicated reality. It is the circumstance that we are dealing with as a society. Occasionally we start to wrestle with it in some fundamental ways. I actually give Joe Biden some credit for attempting to wrestle with some of this. I like the people who pressured him to do a lot better, like our friend Cornel West and others. But at the end of the day, yes. I mean, of course, that's what we're looking at. And again, when we talk about privilege, let us go one step further, which I think is important. And that is that it isn't just privilege. It's sort of the networks of power that sustain privilege. And that gets us to judges. And particularly to judges who are appointed by these very powerful people.
You mentioned Cornel West. He was on this program, I think, last week. And were he here right now, I know him so well. Obviously, he's my friend and brother. I can hear him right now, just underscoring once again what he calls this moment. He calls it a number of things, but he also has called it for the last year or two. This is Cornel West's word, not mine, but you'll take his point. He calls this period the niggerization of America. John, you stand down for a second. I got this, John. You stand down for a second. Cornel West calls this the niggerization of America. And his point is simply this, that when we come to moments like these where white folk just freak out, black people understand it. We live this every single day, being disenfranchised, disrespected, disavowed, demeaned, demonized, and we understand how to navigate it. We don't throw up our hands in fear. We get up every day and do what we do as black people. But the good white folk just lose their mind. They pull their hair out. They start writing op-eds, George Clooney in the New York Times, and James Carville, the aforementioned, and all these other, the good white folk who we love and respect, they just start losing it. They start bedwetting. They start crying and openly complaining and imploding. We got to change nominees. We got to change nominees. And this is not an endorsement of Joe Biden. That's not my point. My point is to ask you, who is circling Joe Biden right now? Who has got Joe Biden's back right now? It's the flip side of the white, wealthy privilege. It's the black folk who are holding him down. It's the black folk in Detroit chanting, "Don't you quit, don't you quit." It's the CBC getting his back. Every poll, every study, every survey makes it clear that through this period where the good white folk of the Democratic Party have been pulling their hair out, it's been black folk who are standing behind Joe Biden. Now, that cuts a couple different ways. I've said too often that Democrats take us for granted, Republicans outright ignore us, and that black people are always, always, always saving this democracy, oftentimes from itself. We saved Joe Biden's campaign in South Carolina, and as a result, I repeat, we saved democracy. And here come these black folk once again, for better or worse, standing behind Joe Biden. If he remains the nominee, and if by some chance he wins this election in November, the flip side of him losing and it being nobody's fault but his own is that black folk will once again have saved Joe Biden, and black folk will once again have saved this democracy from the existential threat that Donald Trump represents. I pause for now. You're listening to John Nichols and Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, today I'm here to talk to you about Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit in LA that focuses on renewable energy. We serve communities who have been left out of the renewable energy sector. We offer paid job training, and in 13 weeks, you can become a solar installer. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry, and once you're hired in the industry, you stop at a high, medium income. That could be $20 an hour or more. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry. Call today so you don't be left out at 323-861-0105 or gridalternatives.org, gridalternatives.org.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
All right, John Lucas, my time is getting away from me. Let me pick up my pace. Your friend and your boss at The Nation, regular guest on this program, Katrina Vandenhoover, has written a piece. A headline says, Trump deserves sympathy, but not support for his candidacy. Getting shot does not ennoble the target or transform victims into moral leaders. And yet, I've already seen it. The media has taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. I'm concerned that at the convention this week, where you are now in Milwaukee, we're going to see them advance Trump as a moral leader. Now that he's survived an assassination attempt,
he will try to do that. Donald Trump, as we have said, is very smart about politics. Doesn't always get it right. Often has stumbled along the way, but when you give him a little bit of time, he can sometimes figure things out. Remember, in the debate 2 weeks ago, his smart move was that he actually kind of did what the moderators said. If they told him he was done, he stood down, right? Because he knew that the situation was working for him. So he's a guy who can follow the strictures, the rules of politics if he needs to. In this situation, my sense is that he will try to give a somewhat more moderate speech, a unifying speech, one that is very out of character for what he has said and done. And yes, a lot of the media will stumble into that, right? And they will say, oh, well, here's the new Trump, right? Now, the thing is, he'll undo it in a week or so, as he usually does.
Exactly.
So we'll see where that ends up. And let me offer you one counsel about this. The American people have been here before. You're going to have an expert on violence in American politics who's going to talk in the next hour or so, or one of your fellow hosts.
Sure.
And what I'm going to tell you is this. I wrote a big piece on this for The Nation. I've written about this a lot over the years. America's seen a lot of violence, right?
Oh, yeah.
We saw Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and
That's right.
Kennedy
That's right.
shot and killed as president. We saw Robert F. Kennedy shot and killed on the cusp of perhaps being the Democratic nominee and president. We saw Teddy Roosevelt, the former president of the United States, shot in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a block from where the convention is being held back in 1912, as he was running for another term as president. And we saw George Wallace shot in Maryland in a shopping center parking lot in 1972. One of the things about this is we actually have experienced too much violence as a country. And that's separate apart from everything else. All the human violence and working class people who have gone through horrible things and blah, blah, blah. But let me get to this core point. And that is Teddy Roosevelt got shot. It was horrible. The whole country stopped and looked at that in 1912. But he didn't get elected president that year.
Yeah.
George Wallace got shot. Horrible. The whole country stopped and looked at it. But he didn't get the Democratic nomination that year. Certainly didn't become president.
You're teaching,
And so
John
one
Nichols.
thing
You're
I will
teaching. You're
caution-
teaching, man. You're teaching.
Well, I'm just cautioning, right? That I think it's a lot of media folks. I'm not talking about this. Isn't about Trump.
No.
It's not about him. I'm talking about media folks.
Yep.
A lot of media folks don't know their history, and they just assume something horrible happens, something, like shocking occurs, and somehow everybody's going to jump a certain way.
Yeah.
History tells us they don't necessarily do that.
Yeah. Let me do this right quick. John mentioned my guest next hour. My guest next hour is Wendell Pierce. You all know Wendell is one of the greatest actors of his generation. Recently Tony nominated, owns the Black Talk Station in New Orleans. I don't normally do this, but I think Wendell will forgive me. He'll be on in the back half of the second hour. But this is what Wendell texted me yesterday. And I called this Negro and said, we got to talk about this. Because Wendell is a student of history. Here's what he texted me yesterday. Tavis, there is no place in America for political violence. This assassination attempt was a dark day for America. I condemn the attempt to murder the former president. America knows the pain of political violence. When a Republican president was assassinated, when a Democratic president was assassinated, America knows the pain of political violence. We know the pain of that violence when thousands were murdered for attempting to register and vote for decades. America knows the pain of political violence, like the Colfax massacre in Louisiana, the Wilmington massacre in North Carolina, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, black, white, Christian, and Jewish, murdered for registering voters. America knows the pain of political violence, like the women of the National Women's Party, arrested on their hunger strike, tortured, and force-fed because they wanted the right to vote. America knows the pain of political violence, like the Greensboro massacre of 1979, filmed for the world to see. Teddy Roosevelt, MLK, RFK, Malcolm X, Reagan. America knows the pain of political violence. Now that President Trump was a victim of political violence that we all abhor, let's hope he joins us and condemns the political violence of January 6th, another day in American history where others were attacked, beaten, and lost their lives in political violence. All Americans agree there is no room in our country for political violence. On that, we can all agree. Wendell Pierce in our next hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Mayfresh Daily in the Mert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
John Nichols, like you, I do not have a crystal ball, but let me echo your comment earlier in the 3 minutes I have left here. I do not believe that the assassination attempt on Mr. Trump, which he survived over the weekend, will stop him from continuing to assassinate the character of all kinds of other people like he's done forever. And so the character assassination, I predict, will not stop on his part, number one. And I also predict that he's not going to back away from that NRA endorsement. Never mind the fact that he was victimized now. I don't see Donald Trump pushing back against the NRA. I give the last 2 minutes to you, John Nichols, to close as you will, sir.
Well, I'll say this. I think that we'll be watching a lot of these questions about guns over the next couple of days. And remember, gun violence is a horror in America all over the place. And most of the people who get shot, we don't hear their story. And so what has happened over the last 48 hours, 72 hours, pretty horrifying thing for the country. We've been through something profound. What I will tell you is that people should be conscious that here in Milwaukee, a city that's had too much gun violence, the city council was able to ban all sorts of things around the convention center that might have been dangerous, like tennis balls and hard water bottles and rope and tents. All these things are banned. Drones are banned around the convention center. We're talking about inside, but around it, in the perimeter around it. But guns are not banned.
I saw where you were going. Leave it to John Nichols to put his finger right on it as he always does. So what are you expecting? I got a minute to go here. What are you expecting as a reporter for The Nation magazine? I hope you're not wearing a badge that says that at this convention, John.
I am, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good to me considering. But
okay.
What I am expecting is an outside chance J.D. Vance becomes the VP.
Yeah.
Not saying that for sure, but I think he looks to be a front runner at this point. A lot of other drama here. This is going to be a heck of a convention. And I'm just very intrigued. The Republicans decided to hold their convention in a city that in the last century elected 3 socialists as mayor.
Yeah.
So I got a lot to write about.
Indeed you do. And speaking of the vice presidential pick, if I can get it out, Donald Trump announced about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago before I came on the air for the live program, that he would be making his announcement within hours. So it may even happen before I get off the air live today. We're syndicated and heard in different markets at different times. But whatever market you're listening to me in right now, by the time you hear it, the announcement may already be made. But we do know that today, Donald Trump promised earlier today on Fox News that he would make his vice presidential pick public today. So, John Nichols, you're going to have that to write about in a matter of hours, if not minutes. John Nichols, I appreciate you. I thank you as always. Thank you for this conversation. We'll do it again, my friend, and stay safe there in Milwaukee. That's John Nichols. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest here. In Maryland, Montgomery County's first black fire chief is officially stepping into his new job today. Corey Smitley is taking